Hi everybody, it's Nick here from SquareKicker. If you haven't already seen it, SquareKicker has an amazing tool called Stencils, which allows you to put an SVG clipping mask directly on a map block, an image, a video, a button, and even a section background. So it's pretty exciting. But you're probably wondering, how do you make animated SVGs do something like this? So check out this screen here in front of me, and I have a section background here that has a clipping mask stencil that's kind of like a moving blob. And you would find this already in the shape details. If I go straight into the advanced stencils, and I see a whole bunch of shapes here, and I'm currently using this one, but if I even choose this one, or even this one. So the question is, how do you make an animated SVG? Because you can actually upload your own SVG, including an animated one. So in this video, I'm going to show you two different ways that you can create custom animated SVGs to use directly in your SquareKicker stencil tools. The first one I'm going to show you is through a software called Xyris. Now, Xyris is a new software, and we found it to be very cool and super flexible to do pretty much anything you want to do. And if you're a designer, you're going to have a lot of fun here. It's just like making SVGs on Canva, but way cooler. Now, again, Xyris is currently now in beta. So if you are new to Xyris and maybe you have checked out before and you're just finding this tool for the first time like we have, they might be able to do some pretty cool stuff now, but maybe later on when it's in actual production, there might be some things to change. We're gonna head into a project here, and I've already got a handful of examples that Xyris comes straight out of the box, and you can look in front of me and say, there's some pretty outrageous things that you can do with Xyris, and you can use them in your own graphic design projects as well. But for this tutorial, we're going to use simple black SVGs that we want to use as clipping masks. So we're not going to be using color. We're not going to be using lots of background shapes, because if you have lots of background shapes, you're actually not going to get a proper stencil clipping mask. You're just going to get a big white square, and you're not going to see the details inside. So that's important to note when using SVGs to create for using SquareKicker stencils. So we're just going to open up a new design and just going to show you what you can do with it. And it's pretty fun. I'm not going to go into all the details of what you can do, but I'm going to give you a pretty good idea of what's possible. All right, so we're just going to do something really simple, and that's going to head over to my shapes, and I'm just going to create a circle. Really basic shape, and you click and drag just like Canva, and you can see on the board, I can actually just create a shape. Some pro tips here: hold down Shift if you want to get that ratio 1:1, so it leaves this really nice, perfect circle. To align it to the center, you have these options up here, and you click on the center here and the center here, and quickly you can see you can align your shape where you want it. But I'm gonna have it right in the center. Now, if you want to scale your object, you can of course hold down the Shift key and then bring that to scale. But another pro tip is that if you hold down Shift and Option, it will change the kind of origin path of where that scales, keeping it in the center where it currently is. I think that's quite cool. So I'm gonna leave my shape about here. Cool. And then just for transparency's sake, I'm just going to make this a black SVG because I don't really need color because it's going to get clipped out anyways. And that's just an extra thing I don't need. So I've got my shape here. I'm ready to go. I can literally export this now as an SVG, and I can use my SVG circle. So if you're just wanting to create simple SVGs, this is a really nice way to do it. So let's start animating. So once you click your shape, I'm going to click on this little toggle here called Animate. When I animate it, I have a whole bunch of different options. We're not going to cover all of them, but you can see there's a very cool list of different things we can do. So my first one I'm going to do is I'm just going to create like a breathing effect, and we're going to use scale. So let's go find scale, which I think is sitting here in transform and scale. Cool. As soon as I select that, I look to the bottom and I can see a timeline. This is the timeline of my animation. So when it gets from this point to 3 seconds, it's going to do something with scale. So I'm going to click on this little keyframe note here, and I'm going to choose how I want this to scale. Now I can either use these numbers here, or on the right-hand side, I have all my transforms here. And if I click my arrow key down, you can see that's getting down to this size here. So I can change this width here. I'm going to go down to 0.5 on the the horizontal axis and 0.5 on the horizontal and vertical. So now as you can see from here to here, it's growing and shrinking as I get to that size there. So if I hit play here, you're gonna see that just linear animation just shrinks like that, and of course returns. But if I want to do that over and over and over again, that's where I click on the settings options, and I have a whole bunch of different options here. And at the top, I can have repeat. I'm gonna choose infinite. That means it's gonna infinitely just go up and down and scale this animation back and forth. But it's not going back and forth, it's just starting over again, creating like a pulse effect. So here's where I wanna click on my first keyframe, Command C to copy it, or of course you can right click and copy. Then I'm gonna go to 6 seconds, which is about halfway through. And this is where I'm gonna paste that keyframe. So now it's gonna come in to shrink and increase when it goes to 6 seconds. So that's a 6-second keyframe. Let's just see that in motion now. So it's gonna shrink. When it gets to here, it's gonna return and get bigger again there. Now you're probably thinking that's a pretty, not very smooth animation. What if I want to create some easing here? So you can click on these different elements within the timeline and out pops your easing. So I want it to ease in slowly and then ease out. And of course, when it goes the other way, I want it to ease in and ease out. So creating this really nice fluid effect. So ease in and ease out is my first part. And my second part is also ease out, ease in. Let's see how that works there. It's easing it in and out and easing in and out, just like that. So pretty fun. And it's also just returning just like that. So that's pretty cool. Now let's stack multiple different animations on this as well. So let's click on my ellipsis, and now we want to add a different animation. So we are going to compound more. So let's go into composition and opacity. Now, SVGs can also have opacity on them as well, and you can actually add some transparency to them. So let's bring this to the start of my timeline. And at 3 seconds, we're gonna make it do something slightly different. So again, click on my keyframe, and let's just make this 25%. Ooh, that's looking pretty fun. So I can see it comes in, and as it scales, it kind of feels like it's breathing out and fading away. We're gonna do the exact same thing as we're gonna click on this keyframe and copy it. Go to 6 seconds because I want my keyframe to return, and paste. Now I have it going back to full life. So it comes in and it comes back again. So I have this really nice breathing effect as it fades away. Now don't forget, you want to click on here and go to repeat infinite. Otherwise it will just play once. So let's watch that now and watch it breathe away. Cool, so that's looking pretty fun there. I'm pretty much enjoying that little breathing effect. So we're just gonna stop that there, and we're just gonna export that and upload it to our stencils. So export to SVG file, and we're gonna call this breathing circle. And now that I have my SVG shape, I wanna head to my plus icon and select breathing circle and open. And now we're gonna see I have a nice breathing circle that has been uploaded to my stencils, and I can increase the sizes, of course, and even change the position of my focal point of my SVG. So already you can see a really impactful tool that we can add immediate impact to our website. And of course, you can add this to a shape block, a map block, an image block, but of course the section background has that kind of really cool effect. And you can just put anything you want on top of this as well. So you can put some text on top of it, creating this really nice zooming in and out effect and breathing on your website when visitors come. So that's something pretty fun, but I want to show you something else you can do with Xyris. Something else I really enjoyed is actually having to go over to text. So let's go into here and let's just create my text block again. So I'm gonna hit text, welcome. And we're gonna center align that again. And we are going to also increase the font size to something a bit larger, say 72 pixels. And let's center align that. Let's also do something else in black. Notice that here, there's only a handful of fonts, but you can actually upload your own custom font, which I'm sure a lot of you are going to want to do. And what else do we have here? We have italic. We could do some things here. We're just going to leave this to normal for now. Right. So now I have my nice text here, and we're going to do something a bit fun here. We're going to do something very similar to our other design is we're actually going to fade this away. So let's go into here and let's have this start. And when it gets to the end here, I actually want this to fade away. So if it comes in, and it's just going to fade away slowly. But that was a pretty long fade. So I want to actually add another keyframe just before that one finishes right here, and click keyframe. And this keyframe, I actually want to still be 100%, but the next keyframe, I want to be 0. So now you can see as my text comes in, once it gets to a certain point, it fades away. But of course, I need that to be infinite. So let's do the infinite thing here again. So infinite. And it will just kind of go away and come back again, as we'll see. And it flashes back. So here's where I want to add another keyframe. Let's just say right about 6 seconds, and add a keyframe there. And on this here, I still want to keep it as 0. So just going to fade away indefinitely, and you'll see what's going to happen in a moment. So it says welcome, welcome fades away, and it stays hidden. Okay. Now, here's where the fun happens. We're just going to take this, hold down Option, click and drag, and we can actually create another text block. Or you can just do the same thing we did before, or copy and paste, lots of different ways. If you're familiar with Canva or Squarespace, you should already know how to do that. So I'm going to center this as well. So it's going to say home. And here on this element, I'm going to want to do a very similar transition. So I'm going to select this home option, and select composition opacity. Now I want to start my timeline right to the beginning here and right to the end here. Now here's where I want to do a couple things. I'm going to adjust my home to come in after my welcome has disappeared. So I'm going to select a keyframe here, but make sure this one is already hidden. So it's hidden at the start, as you can see. So it's already hidden, but right about here, I want it to be hidden again. And then now let's make it fade in. So right about here looks good. Or I'm going to add a keyframe, and here, get ready for it. It's going to fade in. And of course, it's going to stay faded in this whole time, and it's going to come in. So let's go check this out. So I got welcome, welcome disappears, and home appears. And now I want this whole thing to repeat again, so it doesn't do that, which is not super exciting. So let's complete the cycle. All right. All right, so here we go. We're going to start my timeline. I have welcome, and then once I get to this timeline here, it's going to go fade away at 3 seconds, and home is going to fade in, and I'm going to carry on my timeline. And once it gets to this point, it's home is actually going to fade away, and then welcome is going to fade in and repeats the cycle in an infinite loop. So let's just go watch that on repeat. Fade away, come in, fade away, come in. And this is going to keep repeating. All right, now let's export. So let's export SVG file, and let's upload that new welcome home SVG. And now I have my welcome home SVG here, and let's see what happens. Oh, that is so fun. You can create pretty much anything you want, including uploading your own SVG logos as well and animating those also. This SquareKicker logo is. We just rotated my SquareKicker logo in circles, and you can pretty much do whatever you want, including doing some pretty awesome stuff using some shapes like this. Okay, so you can have so much fun with Xyris. I love it. I hope you love it as well. Now we're going to show you another way of creating animated SVGs using AI prompts. Now, like I said at the start of this video, animated SVGs with AI using ChatGPT can be, well, a little bit inconsistent, and you have to give it a little bit of love to get it exactly where you want it to be. That's just kind of how AI works today. So I have created a prompt for you that you can use, but you might find that you might need to find your own prompt or get something a bit more similar to what your design is going to be. So I'm just going to paste in here a prompt, and I have a whole bunch of instructions here. Of course, you want to tell ChatGPT it is now an SVG expert generator. That's important. You want to tell them exactly who or he or she is going to be in this process. here are the instructions for how this SVG will play, the ratios, the types of canvas it needs to be, the artwork. A lot of these things you probably don't need to understand because ChatGPT will just use it and make some cool stuff. I've had a lot of failed attempts getting it to this point, so I hope this is helpful for you. But of course, you can make your own prompt if you like. So right about here at the bottom, my SVG description, here's where you want to create your own prompt in your own description. So here's some examples of what you could do or what you could use, but you can also create your own description here and writing whatever it is that you would like. So in this here, I'm going to do something drifting particles like dust. I've never done this before, so we're just going to find out and see what happens. And we're also going to do some floating bubble masks. And let's do pulsing dots for loader. Let's remove that one as well. So yeah, so I'm going to do these ones here, which is floating bubbles for a mask and drifting particles like dust. So this can be very interesting. The animation descriptions, let's do float up and float left and float right, pulse, rotate. We probably don't need to rotate. We don't need to wobble, but we can do some ripples. There's going to be a lot of cool, fun stuff here. I want this to be really slow, so we're going to make a slow transition. And the motion is going to be, I love the ease in, ease out, so we're going to do that. But you can pretty much put whatever you want in here. And now I'm just going to click this little arrow here and see what happens. Okay, it's done. It took a wee while, but I'll show you what happened while you were waiting. It actually went through and actually created another prompt for me and actually showed me exactly what it was going to do before it did it. And in this example, it just said, do you want me to make this for you now? And I said, yeah, absolutely, make this. And it took about 14 seconds to think about it. And then I created this inline SVG ready for me to use, which I think is pretty awesome. I'm really excited to check it out and see how it works. I can also go back and ask it to do different radiuses, different speeds. It's asked me a whole bunch of stuff. You know how ChatGPT works. It just keeps asking you, how would you like me to help you? And it's super encouraging. But right now I've got a file ready to download, an example of what it looks like. So I'm going to download that now. Find my stencil tools and let's upload my dust. Cool. And because it's a size of a section, I want to increase that size to be full width. And there you have it. I have my really fun floating bubbles in my site. Before you go, I just wanted to show you another really cool place you can add your animated SVG stencils, and that's to a section background with a video. So if I head over to my extension in the tools, I look at stencils, and of course I can apply my new dust animation, or I can apply my welcome home animation, and you can see the video playing right behind it. I can also increase the I can increase the size beyond the 100% to something a lot different, creating a little bit of effect here, which is also pretty exciting and fun. And you can make something like this with your shapes moving around and changing different speeds. And of course, you can get some pretty crazy things going on with Xyris and with AI. So anyways, I hope this video was really inspiring and helpful. We would love to see your SVGs that you make using AI or Xyris. So if you haven't already, jump into our SquareKicker community. You can access that by your SquareKicker dashboard. On the sidebar, you can click on community, sign up, and we would love you to share your animated SVGs as well. And of course, all the SVGs that you see here on this video will also include in the blog on our website tutorial. So check out those exciting things, upload them to your website. We hope this has been really awesome, and we can't wait to see what you create using SquareKicker.